Good day, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Briarios Kerensky and welcome to the review of Dark Witch Episode 4. And how sweet does this sound? I actually never thought we'd see another Dark Witch game. Dark Witch 3 came out 8 years ago. Once again we are transported to the world of Beatus, now threatened by Verde, who stops all forms of magical communication. And of course Zizou answers the call, and she sets to put Verde and her minions back into their place by shooting, jumping, parrying and revenge attacking as you'd expect from a Dark Witch game.
あなたが悪者？あらあら、お初にお目にかかりますわね。私はディオフと申します。
The game system features old staples as well as new mechanics. There are 8 stages with their respective boss, and after those there is a new set of 4 stages in which bosses team up together for the closing fight. Clear those and it's time to face Verde. Zizou's repertoire will grow with each boss successfully defeated, but gone are boss weaknesses to certain weapons, as only one boss gives an offensive move. Other rewards are either old abilities like Wing or Barrier, or new traversal options like Arrow Wing, an extra upward jump, or Warp, which allows to bypass solid obstacles. All these abilities use a shared meter, and most must be activated before use. The best example is Wing, which must be first cast via the right analog stick, and then activated by holding down the jump button. It's more cumbersome than needed, and like many other abilities, it's rarely used or used at all exactly for this reason and because, well, not all abilities are useful. Barrier is parry under another name, nothing new on how it works. There is a second defensive ability, Void Field, which cancels enemy attacks on screen as long as it is active, but even after clearing Lunatic difficulty, I haven't found a use for it. Movement and parry are more than enough. Warp is another ability with very limited use, probably 2 times outside its dedicated stage to reach secret areas, and nothing more. Of what you get, Mini and, above all, Blast are the most used. Mini shrinks Zizou down, hitbox included. Blast is a powerful attack that can be fired in 8 directions, travels multiple screens passing through enemies and walls alike, and on all difficulty levels it demolishes bosses. It's more powerful than a maxed out standard attack, and you will be using it the whole game. It's also the reward for clearing the easiest stage with the easiest boss. Zizou can upgrade her abilities by collecting Tres from defeated enemies and destroying jammers. Each stage has 3 hidden jammers, plus 1 awarded if a stage is cleared, boss included, within a time limit. Tres is used to purchase upgrades, called Codex, which are then equipped in 1 or more available slots. Zizou gets 1 slot for every 3 jammers destroyed. Sadly, no familiar faces man the shop, which is probably one of my biggest disappointments in the whole game. The new bosses are cute and there are some very likable designs. Hello Volmots, Zizou's new outfit is cool, but not having Papelne or Al popping up somewhere feels strange. Stage design is mostly linear, with a few detours for hidden jammers, and a couple of the later levels having 2 paths that converge together before the boss room. Compared to Dark Witch 3, there are far less enemies and are placed far apart and often come in waves. If not for the last stages, platforming segments are devoid of active opposition. This is particularly evident at the 2 lower difficulty levels, Hike and Action, which feel empty. It's not uncommon for Zizou to run along an empty stage with no enemies or pits to cross. Hike also blocks many pits and adds several stepping stones to facilitate platforming, and I would suggest veterans of the series starting from parkour difficulty right away, or stages and bosses will blur away with no real challenge. Lunatic does offer a steep increase in difficulty, and facing it without starting bonuses will test your skill and your patience. Bosses have extra health, and at low power levels, the first 2 or 3 encounters will be an exercise in dodging the same attack over and over until the threshold for the next phase is reached. Unless you are doing a challenge run with no codices or abilities, however, Lunatic will become only slightly more challenging than parkour, as extra health, lives, attack power and longer ability meter contribute quite a lot in easing the challenge. The final boss does have a final special phase in Lunatic, but nothing too particularly taxing. Overall, most stages feel uninspired in both layout and graphical design. Only Volmots, Hankes and the last 4 stages before the final confrontation with Verde stand out. There are a lot of potentially interesting ideas, but they are underutilized and often it feels stages are short to account for the 4th timer and its time limit, but once you have gone through any of them a couple of times, said time limit will feel rather generous. Yondal's stage is over before you know it, and any stage based around a movement option could have been so much more. Graphically, I must say I only like Volmots and Aqua Edge's stages. The first fades between seasons as Izo's make her way through it. The second is a urban landscape with detail a notch above the rest. Most enemies have been recycled from previous games, which is another major letdown. Dark Witch games weren't exactly consistent with enemy and stage graphical design, but here I have to question the flying fishes and the seagulls coming out of magicians' hats in a forest with no lakes or magician bosses. This is a minor gripe though. Due to the linear stage design, enemy placement isn't particularly tricky or challenging, especially when you go around using and abusing blast every time an enemy dares to place a pixel on the screen. In many instances, said enemy everything directly behind it, and enemies 2 screens away will be destroyed, including jammers. Bosses have their 3 or so attack patterns, that some link to their health status. This makes battles in Lunatic mode with no power-ups rather boring, as bosses will repeat one single attack until their health goes further down, and this will take a while with their expanded life. The double boss encounters are more interesting. Alone, bosses will still use the same attack patterns as before, but will team up for an exclusive special attack, which is usually more challenging to deal with. Clearing the game once on any difficulty setting will open up a wealth of extra content, minigames, boss rush, Sega shop, and a large gallery featuring not only sketches from Dark Witch 4, but also webcomics and videos published long time ago to celebrate the previous games. A new minigame is Breakers, an Arkanoid/Breakout clone, and oh my, it's boring. I've never been the biggest fan of the original, and this interpretation here is simply not fun to play. Luckily, it's far easier to rack up Sega with the Infinite Runner or the ever-present Poker. But that gallery, there is a lot there, including Siegacha and a full sound test mode. This is how in-game galleries should be done. There is a second character, unlocked after completing the game once, and it's not the cameo I was expecting. She plays very different from Zizo and even has her own twist on the same abilities, so with her you can't go around abusing Blast to clear stages. I would go as far as saying she's the most fun second character in a Dark Witch game so far. Right now, Dark Witch 4 is only available on PC, and it's getting updates almost daily to squash minor bugs and balance things out. I've never encountered a crash, but version 1.13 jumbled up buttons on controllers. Nana, the developer, was quick to reply to my query on Twitter, blaming a change in Steam's API, and then pushed an update to correct everything. The game supports Xbox, PS4 and Switch controllers out of the box, and you can force graphical layouts in the options. Buttons can be reassigned, but some are locked out. I always play with the D-pad, it feels more natural than an analog stick for this kind of game, but left stick and D-pad are both mapped to standard movement, so it's not possible to remap abilities to either of them. Zizou's new sprite and all bosses are well animated and their pixelated form reflects very well their illustrations, and the handful of new enemies are crisper than recycled sprites. Stages are somewhat bland graphically. Voice acting is on spot and music is excellent once again, though it doesn't quite reach previous titles. But then again, I don't think any mainline or spin-off game reached Dark Witch 2 when it comes to music quality. The English translation is not perfect, with a couple of wrong pronouns here and there, stuff like using second person instead of third person, and there are some discrepancies in names. Volmots is spelled with a W in stage graphics, but in the gallery and official patch notes it starts with a B instead. And if you think I've mentioned Volmots a lot in this review, well, can you blame me? Easily my favorite new character. Dark Witch 4 is a fun game, but overall a poorer experience compared to Dark Witch 2 and 3 due to dull stage design, underutilized abilities and too many recycled graphical elements from previous games. With oh so many excellent side-scrollers of any nature available on PC, Dark Witch 4 is really just for fans, but it's exactly those fans that will be the most critical of it. I hope you have enjoyed this review and you stick around for more. Briareos Kerensky, over and out.